everybody to the September 18, 2018 regular meeting of the Historic District Review Board. Have a roll call, please.
Carrie Smith, present. Dan Verstappen, present.
Joe Fair. Has everyone had a chance to, I'm sorry, you didn't have myself.
Yes.
We're going to have a moment of silence. And stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, I'll ask about the agenda for now. If there's no changes, entertain the motion for approval.
I move that we accept the agenda as written.
That's second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the approval of minutes from the August 14th meeting. Any corrections or additions?
We make a motion that we approve the minutes from the August 18th,
August 14th.
August 14th meeting.
We have a motion?
That's second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Okay, new business. 212 Bay Avenue.
Sure.
Want to approach the board and state your name for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Mark Guevara, and my wife Nina and I own the house at 212 Bay Avenue, and we're petitioning the board this evening for approval. What we'd like to do is on the second floor above the front porch and on the side sunroom, we'd like to take that space and restore Chippendale railings that bring it back to Chippendale railings that it originally had. We'd also like to get approval for the additional awnings, which bring it back to what it previously had. And in an alteration different from the historical, we'd like to take the center window on the second story up front and turn that into a door for access to the balconies. And then take one window on the side and turn that into a door for access to the side balcony. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you this evening, and I'm ready to answer any questions you might have.
When you say you would like to add awnings, I know the picture shows the original awnings upstairs and downstairs.
Yes, sir.
Are you thinking of the downstairs as well?
Yes, sir. And the color choice is some question within our household. I favor more conservative green overall, but my wife would like to restore it to the orange downstairs and the green upstairs. So I think that's the plan we're going with.
And these are fabric awnings.
Yes, ma'am. So we have not procured them yet, and we'll shop around, but I'm open to other type of material if it's durable and fade resistant, because we like to not have to replace them often. But I think fabric.
Do you still have the frames?
We don't have the frames, but it's got the connections still in most of the brickwork. So we'll have to purchase the frames.
The guidelines clearly state that fabric awnings, whether fixed or retractable, are the traditional type, and I'm sure that's what these were.
Sure.
And they're the most appropriate for historic buildings.
Okay.
It also says that box or curved fabric awnings are more current and shouldn't be used on historic buildings, but in this particular case,
on the porch, they are curved. It's the only way,
On
it's
the
the only way they,
lower ones are.
it's the only way they would work, so that's kind of an exception to the rule. Maybe the only one regarding awnings. Tell us a little bit about the door, the proposed door access on the front and side porch, please.
Yes, sir. So, what's interesting is they were all windows. If you look at the center window, if the center window was wider than the other windows in any event, and the width of it matches. I've got, I don't know if this is part of the enclosure. This is the original architectural drawing for the house. You can see that width kind of matches the door beneath it. So that would be the one that we would choose, and I don't think, so we wouldn't alter anything on the sides or the top. The only alteration then would be to remove the brick at the bottom of the window down to the floor level, which I think you really would not be able to see that difference. On the side, Mr. Manning measured the side window, and the current width of that window will accommodate a door. We would replace it with a door to the maximum extent possible that mirrors the other windows. So it would have a lot of glass and probably be custom made to fit those.
Okay, so the front, on the front, the center window, it's obviously wider for your drawings.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And the picture clearly shows that also. So, would there be any side lights, or would it just be a large door? Well, a single
It
door.
would just be a single door.
Okay, no side lights.
No, sir.
Okay. And then obviously the same on the side porch,
Yes, sir.
but it would, right, fit that window opening.
Yes, sir.
So is there a preferred window on the side porch?
Yes, sir. The forward window is what we would.
Okay, so the one to the right of the chimney stack.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And notice the side elevation. So that window, it's kind of tight to the railing, right, or appears to in this picture. Okay. What type of roof is,
It's a 30-year architectural.
oh no, I mean on the porch roof above, the open porch below.
What would you call that material? Is
What is that roof?
It's a rubber membrane right now with asphalt covering.
Okay, how would that be?
What we'll do is run a sill plate around the exterior perimeter of the brick area that's there now, a salt treated sill plate, fasten that to the piers that are supporting those arches right now, and anchor those in. Also put a band against the wall, anchor that into the brickwork that's there, and then we would put in salt treated joists, and whether it be a composite decking material or whether it be a salt treated material, that would be up to work. And but that's where the construction would take place.
How would you treat so that you're gonna basically be framing the deck up on
Right.
top of the porch roof? How would you treat?
it'll be framed up, but resting on the brick perimeter and the
There'll be a allowance so that water will flow through those areas.
No, well, I guess what my question is, how would you treat the edge? Because, I'm assuming you'll use like a 2x8 joist?
Yeah, be a 2 to 8 band on the
Okay, so
exterior.
there'll be a 2x8 band that you'll see above the brickwork, correct?
Actually, I don't know if you really see it that much because of the way the elevation is on the porch from the exterior. You hardly see that at all. But
Well, the picture I'm looking at a roll-out, above the porch.
Right.
So looking at this roll lock up here, and then the railing above. So would the framing for the porch, that band board sit on top of that roll lock?
It's set just inside of that roll-up, because the walls are almost 16 inches thick. So
Okay.
it'll sit just inside of that, so it'll be far enough back to where you won't be able to see it from the exterior unless you're right there.
Okay, well, that's my concern, is that
Yeah.
you would have something that heavy,
Mhm.
because that's gonna be, that's, by the time you finish it, that's gonna be a pretty significant looking thing.
Right. Mhm.
Where, right, you know, in the pictures, the photographs that were submitted, the railing is what catches your eye,
Mhm.
not that band.
Well, I would think the railing is probably going to be the most significant part that's going to catch your eye anyway.
Mhm.
Even though the floor joist band will be there, I'm quite sure that that's going to be the most significant part that's going to be pictured into it as you look at the porch itself. Because those are the things that with the design and all with Chippendale and the other fan layout that it had between each, I think of like every other column
Mhm.
there, that design is really going to be the eye catcher more so than the actual deck itself.
But you're not gonna lay the joists on top of the brick.
Yeah, what we'll do is put a band on there, and the joist will come on top of that, and band will go against the wall, because I gotta support it in some way.
So what you're gonna have, you'll have an 1.5 inch sill, basically, on top of the brick, and then a 2x8 on top of
Right.
that, and then deck boards on top of that, so you're gonna end up with 8, 9.5, you're gonna probably end up with 10.5 or 11 inches of additional height from top. That's what I'm trying to ascertain. So how would you, so if it's set, I understand if it's setting towards the back, and the brickwork is 16 inches, that's steep, and you push that, you pull that all the way
As far back as
back as
that,
possible.
yes.
Could you use a 2x4 plate to sit that on instead of
Well,
a 2x6?
I could, I can.
Would that be enough to sufficiently anchor?
Yeah, I mean, that would be enough to support, because all I need is 1.5 inches for the joists to rest on by code, but I prefer to have a little bit more. But 3.5 would give me enough. I'd have two inches there for it to rest on if I use 1.5 inches.
Okay, well,
Which is 3.5 inches wide.
yeah, I'm just trying to minimize
Trying to minimize.
that
Right.
visual band,
And we'll wrap that with the AZAC board,
right?
a white AZAC board, so it'll have a nice appearance instead of just the deck itself
Mhm.
on the exterior.
And then the railing is going to be
Yeah, will the railing, that's a good question. Will the-
above the roll?
Or will the railing, yeah, will the railing be on the outside of that band board, or will the railing be on top of that?
The actual post
Yes,
that
the
will
post and
support
railing.
the railing will be fastened to that band on front and bolted to it. So 1.5 inches of that will be on the exterior part with a PVC sleeve over top of it.
So you'll notch, the post will be notched around the band,
Yes.
bolted into the band. So actually, the forward edge of the porch post will be proud of the band board.
Right,
Okay.
half of it. Yeah.
Right, but still it'll be outward of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the PVC facial piece will come inside between each post
Yes.
and go around.
Right.
And that will take up 3/4 of that as well. So you only see a protrusion of only 3/4 of an inch on that part of it.
Okay. And the same technique then would be used on the side porch? I
Right,
assume?
same, both portions will be done the same way.
Okay.
And the railing will be done in the same fashion for each one. That was the original design that was with the house when it was originally built, so we'll go back to that.
Mhm. Okay. And I'm assuming the same rubberized roof membrane is on the side porch because that's
Both
living
have the
space
same,
there.
and they have actually a built-in gutter that is on the exterior portion of the outer brick. So that's one reason why we have to move everything back to the interior portion, so to allow that gutter to still function even though we put the deck on. It'll allow the water to flow into that
Mhm.
point and go out.
Okay. I mean, obviously, you know, that's, on the side porch, that's living space, so it's one thing, you can get a little drip in the porch. It's gonna be completely different if you get it in the house.
I know.
No, I know, kind of preaching to the choir, but
That was one of the things I told Mark when we originally looked at doing that, that we have to make sure that those roofs are sealed, you know, so there won't be any problems, because once that deck is on there, it's going to be pretty hard.
yes.
Because I can try to make any kind of repair.
Yeah, exactly, which I'm kind of, the reason I asked you about the roof covering, I was assuming that the roof covering would also be the walkable surface.
You could walk on that roof, I mean, you know, I don't see any reason why you can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just, that's why I asked, but I understand also the decking aspect there.
Right.
So the door on the side is going to be right there.
Yeah, so it would be, there's a picture here of the side elevation there. So it would be the one to the west of the chimney stack, on the right-hand side of the chimney stack. So with your deck, you're gonna have enough height to put a door
Yes.
in without...
Actually, there'll be a step down that'll go out onto the deck. There's enough elevation from the actual floor, on the second floor, to that, to give us a small step down that will actually go out into and onto the porch.
Okay, so if this application is approved, the window headers, as they are now, will not be altered.
No, everything for the window itself, the actual frame of the door will actually fit inside of the frame, you know, for a standard door will fit inside of the actual window casing and everything. So I don't have to change anything on the casing or the exterior frame. I just have to put it in and then fill in the, you know,
Okay.
the cavities.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, you have
Right.
two windows on each side
Mhm.
and that you keep that symmetry.
Yeah, everything on the aesthetic part of that will stay
And the
the same.
shutters will stay.
Everything. We're not changing any concept on that. Everything will stay just like it is. So the appearance from the exterior is going to give you the same appearance that it had right now. Won't be any difference other than the fact there'll be a door instead of a window. And that's it.
Because in this picture, actually,
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just a glare.
there,
I think it is. If you look at the picture with the awning, so obviously there will not be an awning over the.
Right.
When a motion is made, if it's for approval, I would just suggest recommending using a 2x4 plate on the brick roll rock. That will allow the decking, the whole deck assembly to be pulled as far back as possible to minimize. It's just, you know, there's going to be some vantage points you're going to see that, but that would minimize it somewhat. So you haven't decided whether you're going to use pressure treated or
I think
composite?
I think composite, so it doesn't splinter, doesn't fade, doesn't warp.
right.
We use Trex on our house at Randolph, and it weathers very well.
Right. Any questions?
no, yeah.
Other questions? No? Okay, motion, one way or the other. Oh, I do have one more question, actually. On the north side of the house, there's two windows below that chimney stack. They look like they have awnings in some of these older pictures.
Right.
So will they also have awnings or no?
Well, so they look,
They look like
They
they're
have
pulled up against
different-
the house.
yes. So my wife likes that and she wants to do that, so we will have them replicate that. They're a different type of awning.
Yes.
Centered on.
Oh, yeah, they go from the center,
It would be,
retract from the center.
I can't make it move because she put that in here, hers is wireless.
yeah, it would be, oops. Yeah, it would be this,
Almost inside.
yeah, they look like they're some type of awning, but
Yeah, they're retractable from the center, not from the
Oh,
edges.
is that what it is?
The other ones would be retracted from the edge, those are retracted from the center. That's the only difference. They're made basically the same, just retracted from.
so they would be awnings all across the first floor.
Yes, sir.
Look at that, they retract from the center.
Oh,
They're
the same, except that they, above that retract too? The awnings on
Second floor.
on the deck?
They look the same way. They all look to be the same on that side.
So all the ones on the side, so we would make it the same as the historical. But if your question is, do the round ones retract, is that your question?
No, no,
No, the
no,
ones
no.
on the side.
One's on the side.
Yeah,
Both.
both levels.
Both levels, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see.
No other questions?
Thank you. You do it. Well, because you understand it.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the application as stated for 212 Bay Avenue, keeping in mind that you were going to be using 2x4 on the roll-up rather than any larger wood in order to minimize the impact on the look of the building.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Answer my questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a look at Young's Upholstery over on Virginia Beach Boulevard. If you're getting close, because they do very good work and they're not expensive. And that's going to be a big challenge.
Thank you.
Yep,
I
you're welcome.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
They use something of sunbrown type material, so you won't have it fading.
Fantastic.
Do what?
Thank you.
I don't know, when you did that thing on the side.
Okay. 610 Washington. Mind stating your name for the record, please?
Kathy and Skip Frost. And we are interested in, we purchased a lot of our land we sold. We're interested in building a new home on this vacant lot.
Okay. So the exterior would be party plank,
Yes, sir.
and then with the, I'm assuming the first and second floor decks will be composite
Composite.
decking material, with vinyl rails, first and second floor,
Yes.
and then I'm assuming an architectural asphalt shingle, so
Yes.
a heavy shingle.
Yes.
The roof on over the second floor deck and also over the rear deck and that little bump out are going to be metal.
Well, it's pictured as such.
Yes, that's
but
why I'm asking.
We are not able to afford that, so that has been,
That's,
it's just going to be asphalt.
okay. the porch post on, as per the drawing, appear to be round, is that
Round?
round?
No,
Or
I
is it
don't,
square?
no, that's preliminary, and I'm gonna have a square.
Okay, but there'll be a large post, like
Yes,
6 inches square or
Yes.
larger.
very similar to our existing home in the back. I don't know if you know it, but it's very similar to that.
No, I'm not looking at the back of your house, I know where you are, but that's not, okay, as long, as long as they're
It's substantial.
6 inches or larger square, because you need that mass to make
I agree.
this whole thing look right.
Aesthetically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And the windows are 6 over 6. Was what
Um,
showed.
Yes, yes.
And the posts for the porches are vinyl?
Yes. Clad, yes.
Yeah.
I noticed on the rear of the house you have 2 doors, one that's specifically for a second floor,
Yes,
Right.
it's a studio
a studio.
above the master.
Okay. That would be the door on the left side.
Yes,
And then the door to the right of that would be the entry door for the first floor.
yes. Note that I do not need pictures because I ordered these for the last month. So.
The window in the attic area, the small window in
Yes.
front, that's going to be,
That may be eliminated.
okay.
Can we put a vent there instead? It would be more cost effective to eliminate that window.
So that's not going to be a living space up there?
No, it's strictly storage.
The window looks nice.
And it gives you light.
It does, and I'll consider it, but I'm not gonna promise it. I would like to have it, believe me, David, I would like to have it, so.
I will request that if there's any changes, we're going to approve this basically with your comments in mind. The architectural shingles on the porch roofs, square post on the porch, on the rear, the window in the front gable may or may not change. If there's any changes to what we were presented with, you need to take that to the interim town planner? The town
Yeah,
planner?
I know him, so,
No, seriously, you need to take that to Larry.
okay,
We really don't want to see you back here for something else.
me neither.
Okay, no, I know, I'd like to just make sure that, you understand. I know you do, but.
You notice how much I have to say about this?
Yeah, he's just my support. I would like to request humbly
Yes, ma'am.
that, we would, in a very short amount of time, we're going to be homeless. So I would like to request, since it's a vacant lot and then failed new construction, that the 30-day period be waived and insofar as maybe footers going in or something starting. We only have so much time for it.
I need a house to live in.
So,
Do we waive that? Is that?
well, it's been done before,
We
yes.
we have.
So we can do that.
For anything below grade.
So the footers,
Footers
Could
could
go
get started,
in.
the water sewer connection can get started.
Yes.
That's
and
what-
the
Oh,
wetlands.
okay.
so the actual, so right, exactly. So I personally don't have an issue with waiving that. We did the same thing, I believe it was a house on Harbor, where they wanted to get the footers in.
Right.
And if it's below grade, if anybody does, there won't be anything above grade if the lot's regraded, in other words. So,
So that means No block work at that point, just footers.
Correct, the footers, and as Larry said, water and sewer hookups could begin, and that's sort of prep work, site work. Yes. So we'll give you, I conceivably a few weeks, a couple, 2 weeks,
It matters,
lead
you know?
time.
Because we're renting our house back,
Right, I
and it's
understand.
not cheap.
No, I can appreciate that, but, we can only, that's
Thanks
what
so
we can
much.
do.
I know.
Okay.
And this property will be 610 Washington. That'll be the
It's
address.
really directly behind.
It's a lot directly behind 613.
Nice.
Yes, it's really, we can just walk the stuff over,
Okay.
So that's when we turned it to an end. Maybe. I'd like to keep them in the and let it come.
Did you pick out a color for the party place?
I did.
Which one did you go with?
I think I'm gonna go with a cream,
Oh, nice.
maybe blue accents. Check out my Pinterest page. It's gonna be there to see.
I do want to ask, in the gable on the front and rear of the house, so the drawing we have, it shows as something maybe different than the hardy plank below. Is that going to be?
Oh, that's still gonna be hardy pine, but it's gonna be like,
Scallop.
yeah. that's-
Okay, so it'll be like a hardy shingle.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Okay.
it's just a little architectural detail.
No, that looks nice and it's consistent with other homes in town.
Just like our
Yeah, it
house.
has to have, yeah.
Yes.
Because I think you're not gonna look at that house.
Right, okay. All right. Any further questions, Terry?
No. I move that we accept the application for certificate of appropriateness for 610 Washington Avenue with the waiver for the base plumbing construction.
And that it's going to have an asphalt roof, not a metal roof.
It is.
That the posts in front and back would be not less than 6 by 6, clad in vinyl. That a window may or may not be used as the light / ventilation for the attic. And hardy shingle will be used under the eaves of the scallop attic.
So we have a second.
I second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
the project.
So much, we're very
Good luck with
excited.
the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 56B/600 block of Plum Street. Applicant here. This is for new
It looks like new construction.
construction.
Oh,
Oh, okay, if you don't mind, just stating your name for the record.
Bill and William Mann.
Okay.
I've got the art samples, and this is a photograph of the house. This is the color of the siding, and this is the color of the shingles they're using. That's the siding, and this is the shingle.
Party siding.
Yes.
Plans. Okay. Will the exterior trim, windows and doors, there'll be an AZAC or AZAC? material?
The exterior windows will be vinyl,
Okay.
and the exterior trim will be a vinyl soffit with a PVC wrap over the fascia board. The post will be an AZAC material, 6 by 6 in dimension, and the railing will be a PVC railing with a colonial design to them with, 2 by 2 pickets.
So this will be hardy siding.
Right. Smooth,
But
hardy.
but what's going to be on the corner?
Corner post will be an AZAC material. It'll be a PVC corner post.
Thickness?
It'll be 3.5.
Okay. Because it's hard to tell by the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then I see 30-year architectural shingles, which is typical.
Oh.
Here's the color.
That makes it a little easier to see.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You already built one of these? Is that?
Not one of those yet. I've built several of the other smaller ones on Strawberry Street that we've done, and I've gotten a couple more to present. They want a couple people to work on it.
So the, like the window pattern and everything is going to be more like this?
Right.
Okay, okay.
I tried to pick that out so that you can see exactly what the front and that north side.
Yeah, so that you can see the corner.
Yeah,
over the-
much better.
the wider.
Yeah.
So the posts holding up the front porch, are you going to try to take?
Those are tapered. I'm just going to leave them straight.
Straight. But they're going to be?
Yes, they'll be wrapped. They'll be wrapped in white
Okay.
PVC.
Yeah, he said 6 by 6.
Mm-hmm.
The railings, okay, so 36 inches high, so will they be like 1.5 inches?
They're about 2 inches. They're 1 3/4 inches.
Okay, so they, I guess where I'm going is there'll be something other than salt treated then?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be a PVC material, so it'll be a non-rock surface.
Right, okay.
Less maintenance for the homeowner.
And the
Plus, it
same,
gives you the similar aesthetics as the older version because it's a little bit wider than that. It's actually wider than the salt-treated 2x2s.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So it gives you that same appearance as it used to be years ago.
And the same for the top and bottom rail would be PVC also?
Right.
Okay. So the foundation will be,
A block with the parge, cement parging.
okay, it's not going to be leak.
Stuck it.
And I'm assuming living space on the second floor?
Yes. I think there's 2 bedrooms, I believe, up there.
Yeah, I think I did see that,
There's
yes.
2 bedrooms up there, and
Yeah.
the back portion of the house is kind of cut off.
Yes.
It looks, it's got a separate roof that separates that from the main body of the house.
Right.
That's the master bedroom area on that end, with the master bath.
The first floor underneath that.
Underneath that lower
Yes.
roof line. Yes, sir.
How do you get up to the second floor?
The staircase comes from,
That's right there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It just says up.
Right.
It looks like it's,
yeah,
it looks like
That's
it's,
wrong.
a printer probably didn't.
it looks like it's 3 feet 1 inches in width. So I'm
Uh,
assuming 3 feet probably the code, so.
Yeah, then it says 6'5" up
Yeah.
to a landing, and I guess then it goes up.
Yeah, then it turns and goes back the other way.
Yeah. Okay. Is this something that could be put into the record?
Yes, you can keep it if you like.
Tracy.
The only thing, the color would be,
Oh, no, all right, I
Yeah.
understand.
The color is right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And then there's 3 entrances to the house, the back porch, the side, and the front.
Yes.
It looks like the front door, it looks like there may be 2 side lights in the door, is that? I'm just looking at the drawing that was submitted.
Right. No,
Okay,
no. It's just the way the diagram shows the back door at the end of the hallway. Because the computer system, when it picks up everything from the front view, it just goes all the way through the house.
oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
so we're looking through the front door.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I guess I should probably start closing the door instead of leaving it open or partially closed it. So it gives it some kind of definition there.
So the doors, all the doors, will they be like, do you have any glass or?
The front door will have a small 3 light in it
Mhm.
on the front.
Across the top?
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. And the other 2 doors would be solid?
The other door will be solid steel.
Okay.
Yeah, solid steel door. That or fiberglass. But they'll both be solid.
Nope.
Questions?
I make a recommendation that we accept the application for certification of permit for the construction of a new single-family dwelling, tax map 83A1-1538. And I guess it's.
It's my 3B.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
153B and 56B/600, the block of Plum Street.
So you have a motion, a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, she said it was a recommendation on that.
Oh, yes, we need it to be made as a motion, not a recommendation.
Oh, a recommendation, I'm sorry.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve, and
Second.
a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Very good, Mr. Mann. Good luck.
Oh, those are, I might need these again.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Picture too.
We're holding that.
That's gonna go for the
Record
recommendation.
here. Okay, 410 Harbor, is that correct? No, we'll do that after the contractor introduces himself. You don't mind stating your name?
David Giannini.
I want to correct, okay, thank you. I want to correct the record that this is 410
Well, that's part of
Harbor.
a discussion we'll have.
The
As of now, it is 410 Harbor Avenue. Yes, sir.
I just want to make that clear. So, all right, Mr. Pianini, you want to tell us about your project?
Essentially, what they want to do is downstairs there is no present bathroom, and in the modern age you should have one. And the problem is finding a place for it. And this also ties into the address. The county has the place listed as 100 Madison. And when I spoke to Jeb, he said someone had gotten a variance to switch it over to 410.
Well, this is a corner lot. So
Yes.
it technically has two fronts.
So, in that process, that was considered as well, you know, changing the address to 100, like it originally was, 100 Madison. And you're still utilizing the entrance porch, to put that bathroom in.
So the current, okay, so the entrance porch that you just mentioned would be that small
The side door.
bump out?
Part, yes.
Okay.
And during that process, we could save the roof structure that exists.
Yeah.
Essentially, you know, just removing the post, keeping the footprint, making sure that's sound to build on and repair if not, and utilizing that as the space for the bathroom. It seemed like one of the only things to do other than taking up a lot of room inside. And it's a tight area, you can see when the plans, and there's a closet behind it which will still be utilized. So looking at the outside.
The bathroom's gonna be where the front door is now, right here?
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, and what about your setback? Because it looks like between the sidewalk, I think that's the sidewalk, and the front of the house, really doesn't look like there's a lot of land there.
But it's an existing footprint, so
Oh, okay.
that's the whole thing. And also saving the detail that is there.
Okay, gotcha.
And incorporating a window, so from the street view, it looks like, you know, still just keeping it consistent.
Right.
And that's the thought there. Trying to kill two, so if you're gonna change the location, and as you see in the rear, you also have essentially creating like an enclosed breezeway to gain access to the master suite.
Which in your drawing is shown as a new hallway and new addition.
Correct.
Okay.
New hall, but it is actually an existing screen porch back there now.
Mhm.
It'll be used as the egress.
Well, part of that is the existing utility room, correct?
Well, correct. That's correct. And that is enclosed at this time. And once again, keeping within the footprint is there on that portion. And the other thing is to pay attention to is the neighbor next door. We're kind of taking a cue from what they have already done. And because conventionally you might say, well, why not add on to the rear of the house, you know, and connect? Well, there's a stairwell system there, so there's really nowhere, you know, the flow is not there. And, you know, considering all of that, it just seemed to make sense to do this. Upstairs, you've got 3 bedrooms and a decent bathroom, so that's going to remain relatively untouched. One thing that was not mentioned concerning this project would be the chimney. It has no bearing on this phase of the construction, but in a future phase, as you can see from it's located centrally into the house. And it's very, I mean, it's, you know, it's like, why did they put it here what they did? Makes it very hard if you have a narrow living room and you have a formal dining room with a kitchen. And the plan there would be to expand that, you know.
Okay, well, it's not part of this application.
Correct.
Okay, so you'll need to bring that back to us at some future date.
Sure.
Removal of the chimney.
So yeah, it's in the center, so you would see some at the top.
Yeah.
It's not an exposed brick from the outside. Okay. And of course, the material that's there is vinyl. That's what will be, you know, matched the same. The front porch, they would like to screen that. I did notice several homes on the street had that.
Just bear in mind now, with screening on a front porch, the screen frame has to sit inside the railings, the post, so you don't disrupt that visual element that you have there. The screen would actually sit inward of that.
Correct.
Okay.
And if they're just non-existing and they're added, make sure they're on the outside, correct?
No, the screen,
Well, in the front, you basically, I think you have columns.
you have columns.
No railing.
There are railings.
Oh,
There's railings on the front and two sides.
okay, you're right.
So
You're right. No, you're right.
the
You're right.
screen framing has to be inside of that, so
Okay.
inside the porch. So that's unobstructed.
Now, if we find a structural issue with those existing columns, would we just replace with light, as long as we don't change the appearance, is my question.
Yes, and again, as you heard me mention to these other folks that were here, any change like that would have, you would need to talk to Larry.
Sure.
He's aware of that.
And that's an unknown at this point, so I will proceed with the thought they are okay. And
Right.
what we will do as you suggested.
Okay.
So let me understand this. This is going to be totally screened in. There won't be a door or anything?
No.
Oh, no,
There'll
that
be a door, there'll be a screen door,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, to get into the house, because this is going to become the new front.
New front.
And you can kind of,
And the other,
so this would be screened in with a door, you know,
Yes, okay.
and then this is all the new work.
and then back here in the back again, where we're going to connect the master with the house, that screen porch, there'll be, of course, be a wall there, and a window would be introduced to let some natural light into that hallway. The condenser units would be shifted, as you can see in the photo, and shower in the corner.
Okay, so that would be, those units would be shifted behind the present utility.
And also, if you notice, the feed wire for the panel is coming, I mean, it's coming in from the back and wrapping around the house. We would definitely do something about that during this process as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of, that's like.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Yeah, exactly, okay. But those, so what you're saying is those units that are now facing harbor would get shifted around and be between the neighbor's house and this house?
possibly if there's an opportunity.
Okay.
If not, then shift it over further towards the street, towards the corner of the house, but still in that area. But the optimum would be to put them on the other side,
Okay,
if possible.
all right.
Because I know you're allowed to put those in the setback.
Yeah.
And there's already 2 large propane tanks. The house does have the modern Rinnai hot water system for baseboard, upstairs and downstairs. And that's a supplement to the heat pump HVAC system.
Okay.
And if you work it right, you know, it's very efficient.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So your proposed addition really is really fairly equal to the house next door as far as,
That was another consideration. I was looking at that, and it's pretty much, I think it comes back slightly farther,
right,
but that's a necessity. But still well within the line. And we're trying to complement the house, because, you know, they have the hip roof for theirs, and that looks good with that house, but with this one, we're gonna model it, you know, after the house, which, you know,
which is all an A stuff.
right. And then that gives you just so much more for the property at this point. I mean, to have that master suite, then you still have your 3 upstairs with the bathroom, and you still have your guest bathroom downstairs, which is a must, or you'd be going through the master or going upstairs. And as you see, it's a fairly small house as it is, so there's not a lot of room to waste.
So as far as the address, I mean, I guess we have to approve it for the address that's 410 Harbor right now, correct?
Correct.
And that'll be something that's taken up with the planning commission, or?
There's a variance, and I don't know about the variance, I'll check on that, but I've noticed them dispute it.
That's what I was told,
Right,
right?
it runs with the property. The property owner can request that the variance be waived. And
Right, because as the county records state, the address is 100 Madison.
yeah, and the lived experience of the building looks like the side porch is obviously the front.
Correct. I think somebody made a call there and it did, and then the variance, whenever it happened, I'm not sure.
Okay. So for
And also, it the sidewalk, we would, remove that and put that back as yard.
right, where that little portico.
And effectively, you still have your side entrance by coming through the gate into the yard, into the breezeway area. That's effectively
Yes.
your side entrance.
Mhm. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying, for a motion, we need to refer to this as 410 Harbor.
Okay.
What do you, for the door on the new addition, which would be visible from Harbor, what do you plan to use for the door? I noticed that the door that faces Madison looks like it's a French-style door.
Something similar. I mean, it depends on the homeowner's preference where it's at.
Okay, but it'll have some type of light.
Oh, absolutely. It's a must, because that's going to be a dark area. And the more light you can introduce,
Okay.
the better.
And then portico, that's proposed roof covering or roof over the proposed bathroom there on the first floor, half bath. That roof will not change. It'll basically, you'll just take off this.
Yeah, exactly. I would frame under the existing beam structure there and enclose it with vinyl siding, and it'll, go right to the soffit that's there.
And with a window as shown in the drawings.
Yes, sir.
Because it does add some symmetry to that side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's just a multi.
And for the radius at the top that is exposed
Yeah.
now, I was thinking, one of the vinyl radiuses with the rays in it that you can get, that would kind of finish that off nicely.
Mimic that's already there.
Sure, it would keep, we're not going to change any of that. We're trying to change as less as we can.
Okay.
I mean, it's splashed into the house, everything.
Right.
So, and it's there, and we're,
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
And the windows will remain the same?
in the existing house?
Yes.
Yes. And like you mentioned, if they would like to change the windows, that would be a good time to bring forward the chimney detail at that point, correct?
Yes, but you'll need to come back here, just to.
I understand. No, I get it. This is enough for them to work on right now. And then, because if you try to do both, and then give them some time to really think about what they want to do there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a decent space, you could do things if the chimney was removed.
Right.
If you're eating kitchen, maybe bring the living room into and it makes it decent. So. And whatever style would be chosen, and everything's based on the existing window now, and that will carry forward in the future.
The roof material for the new addition will match the architectural
Yeah.
shingle.
Mhm.
certificate of appropriateness for 410 Harbor Avenue.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Thank you.
Good luck. When do you figure on getting started?
Next few months.
I 32 Jefferson Avenue. You don't mind stating your name again?
David G.
Okay, you want to tell us about this project?
This was an old store that had the storefront was in the front part, and then there were stairs on the side and an entrance that went to the upstairs. Then there was a set of rear stairs that comes down, and that was closed off from the store. So that's where the person lived, and the kitchen was in the back. The storefront stayed, you know, as it was.
There's 2 doors on the front of this house now.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's going to be brought back to one because it's becoming a single family residence.
Okay.
And there's still some things unknown structurally that we're finding out as we've done some preliminary demo and things like that. And what I found is the chimneys are tied into the framing. Okay. And when they go down, they bring the framing with them. And that's
So you're talking about the floor frame?
the floor, anything tied into them, second floor, floor joist, and ceiling joist for the third floor. Anything tied to the chimney is going to travel down.
So what you're saying is the chimneys have settled
They have settled,
on the floor and ceiling?
yes, and we would like to remove those 2 chimneys. For that reason, that's a major reason, but another one is part of the floor plan. And these chimneys are not exposed on the exterior except showing through the
The only chimney, well, they are exposed if you're looking at the house
On the side.
from
Sure.
the side view, from that vacant lot, or from the front of the house. Just the way the roof is configured, you really can't see them.
Does this house have any heat or anything in it?
Excuse me?
Does it have any?
No, it's completely gutted.
Okay. And those chimneys are not functional right now?
No, sir.
Okay. Do they actually sit on a footer, or are they sitting?
They are sitting on a footer made of brick that's, you know, spread and decent, just like they did in this period. There are no masonry footings at this property. Everything is on a pier, at least 28 inches down though in the ground. So I did a probing dig beside one just to see how far, and then if there was a concrete floor. Which is something where we would like to do is, you know, reinforce the foundation. Dig down, put in epoxy and rebar to the existing piers, put some gravel, some sand, you know, get it nice and packed, and the concrete, tie in a rebar cage, pour that, and then block foundation around the perimeter, in between the piers with a vent, one access, and then repair the piers, you know, repair them, and then to give it a cohesive look, porch the whole thing. It'll look like the house next door,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right.
The other thing, as far as, you know, trying to keep the windows the size they are where they are, except, as you can see in the plan, where necessary to change them slightly for kitchen or bathroom. The existing siding is behind the asphalt siding, which is it's just your clapboard, and it's in pretty bad condition. As far as, you know, if you're going to go out there and try to restore it, paint it, whatever, it's a lot of work. The soffits and fascia are pretty decent under the roof. Yeah, they could just be painted and a little nail screw here or there. We propose to, if you allow us to, go ahead and sheathe the outside by leaving the siding that's there on, making sure it's nailed down, nailing the sheathing back through the studs, and then doing a hardy plank siding on the outside with new construction windows. Because a lot of times I like to save the windows and just put a replacement in the gym, but these are so bad. And with what we're trying to do, I think it'd make more sense this way. We get the windows with the J built in, so the hardy will tuck in behind it.
So that allows the window casing to someone proud of the siding.
Yes, it will.
And the same with the doors, the door casing will also stand proud.
Yes, and if it doesn't, we'll add a piece of PVC to make it, and probably bulk it out a little more than the windows anyway, which is normal, as you see. And they're proposing to go with a pre-painted, which would be white at this point.
Right, that's what I'm looking at.
Right.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the front porch.
Basically stripping the screen and the wood, all of that away. Pretty much everything. Trying to keep the columns because there's one column that's like odd. There's three that match, and there's one that's odd. So we would get 4 columns that match, similar to that, and put those out.
So the round tape right now.
Right, exactly. The style is there, and a handrail, no screen, none of that.
Okay.
The front window is gigantic. I mean, it is
Inside the porch.
inside the porch. To even get that made is like ridiculous. And not to mention somebody that was going to operate it, to clean it or lift it.
It's probably a holdover from when this was a store.
Well, and yeah, it's big store. So, I mean, my idea would be to make that a double window. And the same size as the singles, essentially, for that cohesive look. But then you would have 2 separate sashes that a person could operate.
No, that makes sense.
And it doesn't change the footprint, essentially, of the gigantic window. It just, breaks it down a little bit. And I'm sure there'll be a small deck off the back. The neighbor has a fence going up next door. It's a nice backyard once the trees are cleared out. And we would like to save the roof if possible. Depends on the condition of that metal.
It's a metal roof, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's old standing seam. Now, if it's weak in some spots, I mean, nobody wants to invest all this, or nobody wants to buy and say, hey, I think it'll be all right. I mean, so we're going to, you know what I mean, we're going to check it. Now, if we find that it's not up to standards, I would say 2 options would be to go back with a metal roof, either the hand bent or the pre-painted, which is more economical, or put architectural shingles on it. I mean, that would require, it to be sheathed, obviously.
Would you have to change the pitch?
No, everything would be the same. It would just be a skin over. We're not going to modify anything as far as the look of the roof. It's a hip. That would stay the same. I guess that's an economical choice the investors would have to make. Because the intention was to, hey, this roof can be saved. This siding can be saved. Well, we already found that the siding, that's not really...
That's not practical.
No, I mean, because you look at that house next door, it's got the nice hardy plank. The green one across the street's been restored, and then there's one next to it that's similar to this one.
Mm-hmm.
And they both look really nice, and if you look at that and you go, well, I mean, that's just, I just don't think you can get that siding to look very good in the condition it's in.
The windows right now are 2/2.
Mm-hmm.
That you would use that same window.
We've got 2/1 possibly, or stay 2/2. I mean, that hasn't really been decided, but that was what was talked about. would be, replicating that, or just having the 2/1, which you see that a lot too.
Yes. Again, as I mentioned when you were here, previous application, if there's any of these changes, whether it be the roof, any unforeseen structural issues on the exterior, the window schedule, that sort of, those type of changes, because we're gonna approve it, again, like you presented it.
615 is a good example.
You need to talk to Larry.
I did, because y'all mentioned at 615 that you'd like to save the front porch handrail.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were just so rotten and destroyed, it wasn't possible. But we found a solution by getting turn pickets in a vinyl product. And it's actually pretty substantial, and it matched up to the existing quite nicely.
As long as you,
And that's what we were trying to
as
do.
long as you check with Larry.
Sure.
I can put all this work on Larry, but anyway. Okay.
And kept the columns big too, with the 6x6 look.
This front steps now are, I was wondering the other day, the front steps now are masonry, like cement block or something?
Something, it's cast probably.
Right, so they're gonna go away, the all new masonry, I'm assuming, steps, or wood?
It could be either one, but they'll be nice. I mean,
Okay. And then there's the one second floor window on the west side of the house, the west front, and that front corner of the house is gonna be a ribbon window, which would be a long, hard.
right, because of the
For
bathroom.
a bathroom.
To let them not light in still, but be able to,
Right, okay.
And that's,
Yeah, that's kind of, we see that quite often too, so.
and in the old days, they just left the window right in the shower there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you'd just keep good paint on it or something.
I don't know if that's allowed anymore, but, anyway. But yes, okay.
So what was the decision on the chimney?
The two chimneys, right?
Remove it. Okay.
Well, we haven't made that yet. That would be, if we approve it as presented, that's part of the presentation. But as you can see from the front elevation, the photograph from the street, you can't see the chimneys. But you can see them if you stand
On the street.
to the west of the house on Jefferson, you can see those two old chimney stacks.
Is there a empty lot to the west?
Mm-hmm.
So potentially there could be a house there,
Potentially, absolutely.
then you probably wouldn't see those chimneys.
Yeah, right. There's one in the, what looks like one that comes up through the center of the roof, and one that's well.
That's in the rear.
Right, and one that's well offset. It runs, it looks like it runs down the wall.
Right, and as I said before, they're both unstable as they are, and, they've already, and I've got a picture of, the beam, of the main beam of the house, the center beam on the first floor. The chimney took it down like 4 inches, I believe.
So just the removal of the chimneys.
So this one's like right along this
Along
wall.
that wall.
And then there's one that's kind of hiding back there. It looks like it's in the center of the house.
Okay.
But they're not visible from the front.
And they're not very nice either. I mean, I like to save chimneys. I mean, I really do, and I encourage people to, and because they like to incorporate it into their design. These two, for one, fall right in the wrong places. And, the mortar, you can scrape it off with your thumbnail.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, as you pointed out, that lot's built on,
You'll never see those.
you'd be hard pressed to see that. I mean, and that, quite honestly, when you look at if you drive down the street and you're looking at the front of the house, as you drive by, those chimneys are inconspicuous and not visible at all, really. I also like to keep chimneys if at all possible. So with the front porch, are you gonna try to save that roof also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the gable, the ends of the front porch.
Right, that's something we're definitely
It's
thinking
like a
about.
hungary material?
That's not in bad shape.
Okay, so you probably, that may be salvageable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks a little scary, but anyway, a little pain will go a long way in fixing that.
Okay.
It'll be completely open, there will be no screening,
No screen.
You mentioned you're gonna save the soffits and fascias are salvageable also.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, the crown is big and everything's been protected, essentially, up there tight to the house. I mean, the paint's gone, but the wood looks similar.
Okay. Gary, do you have any?
no.
I didn't see that.
Any work for the motion? The application is very thorough as far as approval.
Everything's
Yes, it's a very thorough application.
It was done by our in-house professor. I'm not joking. He's very thorough.
I've seen
Like-
those before.
I would make a motion that we approve for a certificate of appropriateness, the presentation, let's see, for 532 Jefferson Avenue. I don't think there's any exceptions. I mean,
No, not
because everything's in here.
everything's pretty clear.
Yeah.
The only exception would be front door style, what it looks like. Not an exception, but he would have to, applicant would have to
Identify it.
talk to Larry as to exactly what the door's gonna look like, if it matches the guidelines, as well as the windows going from a 2/2 to a 2/1.
Okay.
And also, if the metal roof is found to be unusable, you would need to also, all that would have to go through Larry.
Okay.
Right? If he determines it comes back to us, that's his determination. But again, we're approving this based on your application tonight.
I second the motion.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How soon are you going to start on that?
Well, we're actually already doing some things to it.
Yeah, it's like a new
Bringing some, taking some things out, trying to see what's going on. Not a lot on the exterior. It was only, we took a few rows of siding to check the perimeter, to try to get that. As part of the foundation repair, we're gonna get that back as straight as possible.
Okay, I want to go ahead and give him the time. We're going to move along to 653 Monroe. If you don't mind stating your name.
David Giannini.
Thank you. I know that seems redundant, but.
Well, that's gotta be official.
Okay, you want to tell us about this project?
This one is a duplex now, and it will remain a duplex. Nothing's really gonna change. The front porch, as you noted, and you've driven by there, is in disrepair.
As
So that's gonna need some renovation work. The columns will be matched, repaired, what have you, they're gonna stay essentially the same. We're not gonna switch them from round to square or anything like that. We'll probably have to add railing, I would think.
The application says no balusters?
There's none.
No, it's, yeah, okay. There is nothing. But you're,
Well, I will see.
yeah, okay.
We'll see if the code states, you know, the height, what have you. And if that is an issue, we'll bring it up with Larry. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's none existing there, so we have nothing to really go by.
Right.
So we're coming up with a choice on, I guess, some type of composite that is in that ballpark, whether it be PVC. And when I say vinyl, I don't mean, you know, junk.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so, I mean, the railing we used at 615 was pretty nice. That was the Raven rail, they said LOVS, that's not bad.
No, right.
So that could be a possibility. I just wanted to present that to you.
Are those working shutters?
I don't think so. They're just vinyl with
I think
the
they're
vinyl
vinyl
side.
shutters.
I think they are.
Are they gonna come off?
I doubt it. But then again, I mean, so let's say, for example, they wanted to replace them with the same, because they're either old, whatever, they won't clean up nice enough. Is that allowable?
So on that, under the application specifics and the discussion section, the applicant proposes to replace the existing shutters throughout the house. Now, bearing in mind that if you replace the existing shutters, they have to be wood and operable per the guidelines.
So if he's replacing them, that means he's not, unless he plans on putting windows that work that way.
Well, shutters that are wood or a light, you know, yeah, a wood operable shutter
Sure.
is the way our guidelines read. So, you know, the ones that are on there now are on there now.
Right. So they couldn't be swapped for a newer version. You know,
If you take them off,
they kind of stay off unless they're, right.
Wooden and operable.
Okay.
now,
So there's only option would be to paint them or something if you, right.
Right.
If you want to keep them in there. I mean, very well, I think since the house is white, you know, a shutter is nice to give it a little bit of appeal.
or
And I understand you're trying to control the haphazard use of cheap vinyl shutters everywhere. I mean, I get it.
yes,
But at the same token, you know, to have an operable shutter, you probably have the window, you know, that will take it and actually work. And that would probably be on a house that was more substantially, you know, a better condition that you find those.
it will
But
all,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
the shutters are currently attached to the house.
Right, so. Now, we have to make a repair, and is that's okay, as long as we don't bring a new shutter in.
Right.
I got it.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
The vinyl siding on the house, I noticed, noted that there was going to be the vinyl siding would be repaired and replaced with light siding.
Correct.
That's permissible.
Because it's already existing.
It's already existing. Correct.
The windows would be replaced.
Now, with the windows, when they're replaced, would they be like just a vinyl replacement window?
It would be a replacement sash. The entire window would not, in this case, be removed. they're already clad in an aluminum.
Right, so you would just take out, you would
Just
take
take
out
out
the
the
sash.
operable sash and put the replacement sash into the existing stock or a new one, depending on the condition. And we probably wrap the windows again with fresh aluminum because it's old weather and you can't guarantee the leak. It's going to leak with the old stuff in there, so we'll have to take a look at that. But they're going to remain essentially the same as far as the look goes.
Okay. So the upper window at the front gable stays,
Yes.
maintain the shutters throughout.
Correct.
If you replace them, wouldn't operate, just.
I understand.
Okay, repair the round columns on the porch. Okay. So not a replacement, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the base, something like that. The column itself, I believe, can be
Okay.
saved.
Right.
So it'll be making a new base.
Right, okay, but that appearance will not change.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming that with the front porch, the decking, floor is gonna have to be new.
Yes.
The front porch, the steps look like concrete stacked block, all that'll be
That'll be rectified, yes. sir.
replaced. Okay. Front door,
That'll stay.
okay, the existing door,
The existing door and then the side door will stay
okay,
as it is.
okay.
And since they're 2 units, I know we're going to have to use the fire code sheet rock inside,
Right,
but that's Jeb's purview there.
right, that's right, we don't get into that.
Now, the roof is that's something that needs to be discussed. It has a very pronounced sag to it on both sides, if you've ever looked at it closely. And when you go up there, the rafters have been stressed. We have a plan from the engineer to remedy that situation.
Would that just entail?
Sistering on 2x6s and strengthening the joint at the.
Would there be a knee wall put underneath the
Yes,
hole to carry
absolutely.
that load?
Yep,
Okay, so-
that's what would happen.
and you're able to, well, that's not first.
And yeah, right, if we're able to do it, but it might be that we're not. And what that would mean is, reframing the roof just like it is, and decking it and putting shingles, black shingles, architecture. That's what that would mean.
Okay,
If it just doesn't make sense and it just isn't working, if those, it's got so much memory that we just can't jack it up, we're gonna have to do it that way.
so that would, okay, so if that's the case, and I understand that, so the existing roof would come off, replaced with the same pitch.
Exactly. The same dimension, everything. We're not going to add a dormer or something. None of that would happen. And I think that's where it's probably going to head. I've looked at it twice now.
Okay.
It just seems to me like that is an awful lot of,
What's the current rep, are they pull 2x6s? Okay, so yeah,
and we would necessarily not tear the olds apart, but they would definitely be below the plane of our new ones,
Yes.
obviously. And once again, the chimney comes in. Is there one or two here? Okay, because this one, I've been, with all the other ones, but I know that those chimneys are unstable as well. And that's one of the things that they contribute to. If you go inside the house, you'll see the first floor go like this. And it's, been pulled down, same with the second floor.
the front chimney appears that it's not just an old square flue, it appears that that's a little decorative
Okay.
work on it. The rear chimney looks like it's either just much more utilitarian, like parged or So I'm gonna ask if the board chooses not to allow the chimney removal, especially the chimney toward the front of the house. I'm assuming that's something you could work around. You could, you know, if
I mean,
the framing's tied to it, you can cut that loose from the framing.
not good.
And since this is a duplex, the chimneys go straight through, kind of split the units. I'm assuming.
Well, no, there's an upstairs unit and a downstairs unit. That's how.
Right, it's not happening.
So, yeah, it goes through the front one is going up through.
Right.
There's only one front door, right?
There's only one front door, correct.
The other doors,
It's on the side.
The other door is on the side of the property, and that's how you go up. And that was actually originally the second, you know, the stairs going up, they removed the whole first section, left the landing, and that's where you're entering to go up the final flight, to go upstairs.
Okay. So you could.
So the chimney, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You.
All right, so the rear chimney, we can get rid of that.
Well,
Maybe. Hopefully.
that's the board's decision, obviously.
Correct. But the front one, you would like us to work around.
It's a, you know, it's fairly, it's not your standard square.
Right, it's not a piece of metal sticking out of it.
Right. It does have a little
Okay.
design to it. Better word. The entrance to the second floor unit, I know you're gonna maintain that entrance. I'm assuming you'll maintain that door. Okay. And then you're gonna keep that railing assembly that's there now.
Yes.
So it looks like 5/4 decade or something.
It's pretty substantial. It needs to be cleaned up and painted, obviously.
Okay.
It seems to be in good shape.
Okay. And then, talk to us about the increase in the size of the windows, a kitchen upstairs, and I'm assuming that's a kitchen downstairs? Are they stacked, so those windows will be made larger?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's usually based on your sink dimension, you know, getting larger. Trying to let in more light.
So larger in height of unit or width?
Width.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, you probably can't do a whole lot with the height.
Yeah, I mean, that's not gonna do anything for you, but the width, and a lot of times you'll come up, and when you're designing a kitchen now, you'll have the big double window
Yeah.
usually there.
Right,
To let in as much light as possible.
okay.
So those windows will match upstairs and downstairs, am I saying?
Pretty much, yes.
So I guess,
Size-wise.
right, so you're not gonna have,
An odd looking, it'll be symmetrical,
Right.
in other words, when you look at it. And also that helps with the plumbing being stacked up over top on the inside. And anytime you can do that, because you don't have to make a chase or a header to hide the pipe.
And the little window on the top, is that going to be removed or saved? Is that just a
That's gonna
light?
stay.
It's a light for the stairs? Or?
Or is that a bathroom?
I don't have the picture in front of me, I apologize. I've got everything else but that particular project.
Could be a bathroom.
But as far as I know, none of the windows, I mean, we're not gonna change except those kitchen windows, everything else will
Right.
remain the same.
okay. on the back of the house, you're proposing to remove a small window, put a vinyl full light door in its place, and then as two-story screened porch. So the screened porch would be for the benefit of both first and second floor,
Right.
and it would be tucked in to that corner, right? Okay, not to extend beyond that corner, but square that off.
Correct. And with the mosquitoes the way they are these days, I mean, I think it's, I mean, everybody that comes down, I don't even notice them really, you know, unless they're really bad, but, wow, I'm like, what?
I understand that.
But yeah, that's why that, and it also helps, like you said, you know, round that corner off.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not gonna be a big board.
No, but it's just, I mean, it's enough to go out and say, hey, I'm outside, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna have a door on the first, you have the current door on the first floor, propose a door on the second floor, screen porch for both units, obviously necessitating some type of roof configuration on the second floor, okay? And then there's two windows that I'm assuming they face east, I guess, on the right. Look at them, they would be like east facing, I'm guessing. There's two windows in that little porch area you're gonna go away.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And that's according to your drawing, as part of the kitchen? Okay.
Yeah, they're little like bonus areas. I mean, they're just, and they're definitely apart from the original house where there were old porches before. You know, they like to cover those up a lot, you know, here.
Right.
They'll put up a wall of some type and it's,
How do you, so right now there's like a shed roof over that part of the house. So how do you plan to treat that roof? Because if you pull it, if you continue that shed roof out, it looks like it's going to bump out over top of the existing A of the house.
Right.
In that one corner.
well,
I
that's,
think it was a little hip or something.
I'm gonna have to do something, exactly.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
And your concern would be having something projecting, you know, out far.
Well, no, this thing also
From an aesthetic.
from an
point of view.
aesthetic and maintenance issue, you know, you just don't want to have.
Well, I don't like those areas either, so I'll do my best to not, you know, I always try not to have that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing as you extend that shed roof over the porches, you may have to
Do a curriculum,
some
some
key
kind
hit
of, yeah.
tie into the main A of the house. That's the only, I mean, that's. the only-
Right, you gotta do something that doesn't create a pocket, a nook. I know, because that's a danger zone.
Yes,
And that's where water can gather, animals can make nests.
You just don't, right, you just don't want, you don't want that kind of callback.
No. And it looks unfinished. You know, it looks like, what did they do there?
Right. Yes, exactly.
And that's what you don't want.
Right, exactly. So the only, I guess if the motion is, yeah, it is, both of these have been really well applications. The only caveat would be when the motion is made is that we just, if it's made with the retaining the front chimney, the more decorative chimney. But everything else is pretty well called out. Aluminum fascia and soffit presently, all that staying basic.
As long as, I mean, if it does, we repair it, add a nail, or put a
Right.
new piece if there's a bent piece, but not change the design
Okay,
at all.
all right.
Yeah. Mhm. But we're gonna state that the front chimney.
Well, if you want to make that as part of the motion, then we'll vote on that, yes.
Do we need to do that?
Well, if you don't want it to go away, yes, because it's called, the removal of boat chimneys called for an application. Again, this house sits on the corner of Monroe.
Monroe and Fayette.
Yeah.
There are no fireplaces in this house, so.
No, they were just used for wood stoves. Assuming that one was for the front one. The rear one's probably the furnace, things like that were connected in that, probably one other wood stove.
So what are you gonna put in for heat?
Like I said, this house, well, maybe we didn't mention, this house was completely good as well. So there will probably be a dual HVAC system, one for the ground floor, one for the second floor. So that,
Like mini splits?
no, just a traditional system. For
So the
each-
compressors will sit outside.
Sure.
Air handling inside or.
Yeah, so the chimney now have to become like a decorative part of the interior design, which I know is not gonna make them happy. So, I mean, that's why I was saying, hey, look, in my opinion, they're both unstable, they should come down.
Well, that's, the purview of the board when the motion is made, so.
Sure.
That's-
Now, the one good thing is that chimney's not as big as the rear. The footprint is, I mean, it possibly could be worked around in the plan. But I'll have to face the music on that. They'll say, David?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the application for 653 Monroe Street, as stated, except that what do we want to say about the chimney? We'd like to see the front chimney stay. And if it cannot, we'll have to go and see the town.
Okay, so we have a motion
I second it.
and a second.
Notice
Right, we have a second motion and a second.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Five, 4, 3, Randolph? That's me.
Hi, I'm William Wagner, for the record. The message I'll ask first.
Thank you.
We are the house right next to the Catholic Church, and we own the one next door. We bought that a couple of years ago when I came in here and I asked for y'all to get permission to build us a porch. And we're going to do exactly the same thing to that house. They're basically duplexes, or what do you call it, modular.
They were probably modular.
Yeah, they're
not.
They're identical. And we're basically, we would like to do, that month.
Sure.
I don't know whether my wife, she sends and corresponds with everybody here at Cape Charles. But,
That's the existing, that's the house we
That's the one you
approved.
just built.
yeah, and we want to do exactly the same thing. The only difference is, we want to put a little, they have an existing side deck when you come out their side door, which faces the Catholic Church. It's all beat up. We just want to take that down basically and make it a little bit bigger and just make it, build it new because it's really falling apart. And then on the back, They actually have a door, there was a fire there, I guess, a couple of years ago, and they were nervous about not being able to get out of the house, so they put a door back there. And we just want to put a deck out in the back, a low deck, where you step down a couple of steps.
So this house actually still has a front, a side, and a rear door?
Yes. And I think with the fire, they couldn't get out, they could barely get out the windows, so they put a door back there.
Okay. Well, the house that we approved a year or year and a half ago does not have a back door, correct?
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's just front and side.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you guys have, I'm sure my wife, she emailed all this stuff to you,
Yes, Larry,
you have all the, oh yeah, you're Larry.
yes.
Guys, I hear your name all the time.
I hope it's always good.
Yes, it's always during business hours, but it's all about construction and stuff like
It's
that.
good to see him smile.
Yes, okay. So yeah, so these houses are kind of, I think they're like kind of mirror images, except for the, as the applicant mentioned, the one we approved previously, the side door faces west, this one faces east.
The whole house is flipped. That's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. So everything's just different inside. Also, it's not in here because it just says the same, but we don't want it to look like two duplexes, you know? So we're just going to put, instead of the gray, the light gray siding, we're going to put that cedar shake they're going to use, the fake kind of,
Yes.
whatever they call it, engineering cedar shake, and kind of blue, dark, a little bit lighter, a little dark. So
Okay.
just to shake things up a little bit.
The front porch on the present house is going to be mimicked,
Exactly
the
same
same.
material, same
look.
same look, except for on that right side is just going to be a little bit bigger.
Right,
When you come out that way.
right. So we're looking at a picture of the existing, the deck's on the left, so that'll just be larger.
Yep, that'll be large and it runs down the side of the house. I think it says 11 feet from the corner, so I guess that's maybe an extra 4 or 5 feet back. So when you come out the door on the side facing the church, it's just a little bit bigger instead of just going right down the stairs. It goes a little bit longer.
Okay.
And there's no like roof going off of that or anything. It's just the same roof line. So there's no coverage over it.
So yeah, it'll just be an open deck that runs down.
And same with the back. There's no, same with the back that we're asking to do. There's no roof that comes off. It's just, and no railings. We're going to build it low enough. We're going to step down so we don't have to have the railings.
Okay, you'll have railings across the front, the match?
Just like the other ones.
Just like the other, okay.
So, and we really were just here to do the deck, you know, but we had been talking about the door going out from the back of the house onto the deck, about doing a sliding glass door back there. Is that something that I have to come to another meeting to get that approved, or can I email specs or something like that to get that?
I mean, that's not something that's even visible from the street.
No, I would, again,
I don't want to mess up.
I would bring that, if that's your intention, as you get into this project, you want to clear it with the planner.
Okay.
Just so when the code official goes through here, he knows that may be part of this.
Okay, I don't want to.
We're going to approve this as you applied for it. But if there's that kind of change, you need to just let me know.
Okay, gotcha. And if we change the color on like the siding, is that something I have to get, if it's just, you know, a different shade of blue or?
No.
No.
Okay. And can I ask one favor possibly? Is there my wife just found out that there was a 30-day, you can't start for 30 days or something like that. Do you think if we're just doing decking and my contractor's ready to roll, he did the one next door, so he kind of knows what he's doing and he wants to get rolling, is that a possibility?
I think in this case, that would not be, because we can only allow that for work that's below grade, as you probably heard with the
Okay.
previous application. Now, that's not to say you can't you can't do interior work.
Okay.
Um,
I just thought I'd ask.
No, that's fine. If it's above grade, I'm sorry.
Okay. I appreciate you.
But it was worth asking.
It was, I heard someone else asking.
Okay.
What the heck?
Any questions? Okay.
I move that we accept the application for certificate of occupancy for 543, Randolph, Randolph Avenue, as written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, very good. Congratulations.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
So,
Larry, does he have any possibility of going to the, building, Jeff, get any kind of a waiver on that 30-day?
No, that would be a text amendment.
So this is always a standard, unless it's that below grade.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing to appeal. right?
Okay.
There's nothing to appeal about somebody putting a water line or footers.
Gotcha.
And there's likely nothing to appeal about somebody who's building a single-family home that conforms to the ordinance in a single-family district.
Right.
But as long as our ordinance still says 30 days,
it's 30 days.
it's 30 days. Now, the language is supposed to be amended to actually specifically state that the appellant needs to show that they are suffering specific damages. That's just going to make it easier.
So that's why the 30
To
days.
administratively say to someone, you don't have grounds for appeal.
Got it.
Right, okay. All right, so I'm going to move along to unfinished business. We have a modification to the certificate of appropriateness for 718 Randolph Avenue, stucco and painting of exterior concrete block walls.
Mr. Huckler is not here tonight. This is the only thing that the ordinance would allow for, which is the first time painting of masonry. So, to paint masonry, first time, you need to get board approval. There really isn't much other to say. Dylan, this project was approved in the past, it's completed. He just now needs to paint his masonry.
So this is
It's cinder block construction.
cement block addition to the rear of an existing building, kind of next to Vance's, between
Yes.
Vance's and John Burvis's office, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the front, the existing is painted,
Right.
Yes.
And this is raw.
this is raw concrete block. Okay. I just want to make that clear because this isn't like a historic home foundation or a historic home that's going to be painted. I just want to make that clear. Okay.
Okay.
No, and the applicant doesn't say any type of improvement, specifically stucco and painting of exterior concrete block walls.
Yes, yes, but I just wanted to make that kind of explicit because if someone says, oh, we allow this. Okay, so this is, to me, this is really kind of cut and dry. We
It
did
really
approve,
is.
we approved that addition a couple of years ago, I think, and as Larry said, it's complete
Yeah.
now. So it seems pretty cut and dry to me.
He doesn't mention color. I'm assuming it's going to be white, like.
I'm going to read somewhere where it said one.
Yes.
Oh, I did say it in there?
It did somewhere.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I make a motion to approve for a certificate of appropriateness, the proposal for 718 Randolph to paint the raw block building.
I second it.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
All right.
All right. Other business, I have 2 items, and hopefully we can be brief.
Joe, I'd also like to approach the board as an item too.
Okay, if you don't mind,
Sure.
we'll get you after
Sure.
we attend to these other items. Okay, 638 Tazewell, Mrs. White's property.
She has not submitted anything for modification. So right now, she is still in that no man's land from the Board of Zoning Appeals recommendation to come back here.
Okay, so I just wanted to get that on the record. Okay,
So she is going to come back.
perhaps,
She was
yes.
directed by the Board of Zoning Appeals to do so.
Okay.
She needs to come back before this
Okay.
board.
Do we have to schedule something?
Well, she would have to make, no, she has to do,
She has to
talk to the town planner and get that on our docket.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that would probably come under unfinished business because it's unfinished.
Yeah, it's a modification to.
Yes. Okay, so that's not been brought forth yet. Okay. The other thing I just want to bring to the board's attention is 2 weeks ago, a chimney was removed from, I believe it was 119 Peach. I sent an email to the board and Larry and Tracy. That's the west side of Peach Street in the 100 block, so between Randolph and Tazewell. On that side of the street, on that west side, there's a duplex that's currently being renovated. And then there's 4 homes, all the same. Some have seen slight modifications. They all have their original chimneys. One was taken down without the consent of this board 2 weeks ago, the week prior to the hurricane. It was taken down. It was removed early in the morning, and by the end of business day, an asphalt roof patch had been put on there. You can obviously, if you go by, the patch is very evident. Brand new shingles in a small area. I would humbly request that the planner send notice to those owners that they need to come before this board to explain why that happened, why they didn't appear before the board, and to have an argument, a very good argument as to why that chimney shouldn't be replaced. Because if you look across the street now,
I know
you see
exactly.
chimney,
Yeah.
nothing, chimney. It's just, you know, that's a very visual element. So I would humbly request the planner to reach out to those owners to take care of that. And I believe, I can't remember, I believe it's 119. I should know that, but I think it's 119.
Look at that, I didn't see.
Okay.
Paul Grossman, and the subject happened to be chimneys. And I'd say perhaps the inconsistency in application of chimney removal, okay? An example I would bring was, I know Andrew McCoy, who David just talked to regarding those 2 houses, and I kind of prepped him relative to the 2 chimneys. Now, when I went to 532 Jefferson, I took a picture across the street, and you can see that one chimney, very evident. However, the picture that was presented here was from the sidewalk, and I think you even said coming down the street you can't see it. I beg to differ, but I'd also like to know what is then the criteria that you're basing this on relative to chimney removals. So in this particular case, you allowed 532 with regards to the second application on Fig and I don't know if it was Monroe or Madison. You can see those chimneys from Fig very easily.
Now, is it from the front of the house? Is the criteria from the front of the house looking up? And if so far, how far back do you have to stand in order to see that? Relative to the criteria for chimney removal. And the only reason I'm saying this is because last meeting, the woman was denied on 238 Monroe from removing a rear chimney. And now that screws up her whole design on creating a bathroom. She was removing a boiler and the associated chimney. And the question even came up during the meeting, can I see it from the front? And it was no, I cannot. And it's documented in here. And yet she was denied that chimney removal. So based on the conversation I heard tonight and last meeting, I would ask that the board readdress the 238 Monroe application relative to the chimney. If the board agrees that I can't see it from the road, you know, you'd have to convince yourself. Not everybody was here last meeting. But at the same time, I'd like the board to write down their criteria as to what they're using for determining whether a chimney has to be removed or not. That's all I'm asking. Because this woman now has to go redesign this whole bathroom in the rear of her house, which I don't think she has a bathroom on that floor for her aged parents.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the criteria there was that the chimney added something to the house. It was an evident piece of structure there at the end of the house.
Well, it's a tall chimney. It comes up through the first floor in the back.
It does, but when you look at it, it adds character.
From the rear of the house.
From the rear of the house.
Okay, and I'm saying that is not your criteria. You've been always talking about having it from the front of the house if I can see it.
Not necessarily. We've looked at chimneys in the back. I know that Tammy Holloway, we approved having a chimney removed in the area where she has her new construction. And she has several chimneys on that house that are original, that are part of an architectural design feature. The chimney that we approved to have removed was, number one, it was non-functional. It could be seen from the park, but it was not a, and it had structural problems, but it was not something that contributed to the architectural look of the house. Now, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know what that chimney looks like.
Yeah, it's
But what I'm saying is that we do have purview over the chimneys, but there's a specific reason as to why, and it's not just whether you can see it from the front, but in some cases where you can't see anything from the back, I think that gives you a little bit more latitude for a non-architectural chimney to be removed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you guys are in the business of knowing better than I. I'm just here trying to observe and comment on what I view as inconsistencies.
Right.
Okay.
But I think that last chimney, if the one you're referring to, where the person had to change their design, if it truly is not visible from any angle, from the street, I'm saying any angle, from the side or the front, as long as you're on the sidewalk looking at that property, if you can't see it, and it has no architectural impact on the building, then maybe we should relook at it.
That's all I'm asking, because the woman has to now revise her design based on the decision from last meeting.
She would have to come back and actually, she could have gone, if it was that much of a hardship, she could have gone to town council.
That's.
Oh, she went and changed her plans based on the feedback from this group. If the group is willing to entertain, I think thinking maybe give her the option to come back to the group and ask for reconsideration.
So are you representing her?
No, I'm just sitting here looking at consistency because I attend these meetings.
Her recourse was to go to council.
Yeah, exactly, that's,
And it's stated on the application.
I mean, that is that does happen, right? Any applicant, if they take issue with an approval, a denial, or a modification, well, they wouldn't take issue with an approval, but a denial or a modification, the recourse is to take that to the town council. And I suspect something like that would probably be handled, I'm looking at Larry and his administrator's hat on, that could be handled, if an application comes in for that, within 30 days, I'm assuming.
Well, and before they start any kind of building, I mean,
Yeah.
the standing for the property owner is ideally 30 days, this is what the ordinance says. At the same time, in a construction project, they might not know until they're well into the construction project and something that's been not approved by this board
Yes.
needs to be done.
Yes.
Now, the recourse would be to come back here for modification or go to the council directly for an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate to bring it to the council, not knowing whether the historic review board really is going to, as a town council, I'd like to support your recommendations, okay? In this particular case, I'm asking whether or not you'd want to re-review that in light of what we brought to the table.
Well, I think it's up to her to come back
Yes.
and request it.
That's fine, I can send her an email
It's
saying
not for
this
us
is
to
what I've
concur.
discussed with the board.
Right, there is an appeal process.
There is.
So I guess that's probably the appropriate thing to do.
If it's an appeal, there's only one path, and that's the town council.
Okay.
If she wishes to do a modification, which would speak to whatever the interior, whatever the design feature is, maybe she had also changed some window situation or something, modification for that. Oh, and by the way, now here's the issue with the chimney. Roll that into a modification and come back here to have that looked at to modify the original certificate of appropriateness. That's
An avenue, okay.
that's a more.
All right, I don't know what she's gonna do. I'm just saying
Approach.
that we talked to her after it. She was kind of,
Well, she might have structural issues with that chimney too. I mean, those are
We-
things that's.
we talked to her about that too.
We
And
give
it
that a lot
was,
of
right.
latitude. We give the contractors a lot of latitude to come back because they may find things,
Right.
like Mr. Giannini was going on today, rightly pointed out, if we find this with the porch posts,
Right.
well, that doesn't need an appeal to town council.
No.
That's can either be done an administrative fix.
Correct.
Or they come back here
Mhm.
to the modification because it's the porch post as well as it's something else.
Right. So yes, but she would need to speak with the town planner regarding the modification, and then that would be brought back to this board.
Okay. And the criteria that I'm taking away is from the sidewalk view of the house?
That's generally
Right.
the way we look at that, and or if there's, as is, my colleague Dave mentioned, if there's an architectural feature to that chimney. For instance, as Dave, used the holloways, the chimney that was removed was clearly visible from Beach Street,
Right.
from all points in the park, but it was strictly a rectangular stack that was leaning and had a big split.
Mhm.
So it was utilitarian. It wasn't removing an architectural feature, right? Something that the chimney that I mentioned on Beach Street, while it may be a square stack, it was one of 4 in a row. So that's an
Right.
You take one away and all of a sudden, it looks really odd, right? You break that line there. So, these are the things we look at. you know, Paul, all that we do is really every time we meet, it's somewhat of a delicate dance we do, because I think I can speak for all of us on this board. You know, we want to see these homes get renovated, but we want to also, you know, we're charged with trying to protect this
That's fair, that's fair.
integrity. So we do this, it's a delicate dance.
No, I understand. I've been here, I've been watching for the
No, I
last year
know.
and a half, so I understand.
It's really hard to say no to some people, but
Right.
sometimes we just have to. So, yeah, so she needs to come, you know, she needs to approach Larry if she wants a modification and then bring that to the board.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for, okay.
But thank you for your questions and input, and your attendance, actually, appreciate that. Okay.
Is it time to bring up new things?
Yes, this would be
A good time?
other business.
Okay. I would like the board.
I'm sorry, I've been holding it for 2 hours.
Oh, I'm
Can't
sorry.
do it anymore.
I would like the board to consider pursuing expanding the purview of the board.
What?
The purview of this board, because we're basically looking at the historic district, and what we look at is primarily architectural in nature. And the town is getting ready to grow a lot, possibly into the railroad property, possibly into the harbor district. And I would like to figure out how do we approach the council and the town to talk about how we can expand the role of this board to be a historic district review board and an architectural board for those other sections of town. Because you've got areas that are contiguous, that if you don't have someone looking at that, then we're going to have just a mishmash of things. Yeah, and I don't know, this is something I think we should look at. We should be talking to the council and see if this is something that makes sense. But I think if you have individual boards out there that are handling a certain sector of the town, they're looking at it in a stovepipe, and there's, you know, this may be really looking good for doing this in the harbor, but is it going to fit in with Mason Avenue? You know, we want a smooth transition. We don't want to have a harsh transition. So that's just something I'm bringing up, see what you guys think. And if you want to go that way, how do we pursue it?
Well, I think we kind of, as I mentioned earlier, I think we kind of are a quasi-architectural review board, but see, you're right, we don't see what the Harbor Review Board sees, and we don't approve that. And I know I understand what you're saying, because you don't want, you don't want there to be, you don't want there to be, you know, a McDonald's on one side of town, on Mason, and, you know, a 5-star restaurant. You know, it's just too,
right.
It just doesn't.
Well, I mean, we've been lucky so far. I think the two buildings that Hand put up fit in nicely.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. We want to make sure that continues, and that we don't all of a sudden get some other, you know, group that decides that, you know, that's their little territory that they're going to take care of, and they have a different view altogether, and it changes the character of the town.
Yeah, you know, the other, right now there's going to be expansion into the Harbor District with the proposal for the yacht center there. You know, if the railroad is totally abandoned and that property transfers to a private owner, all that from Patrick Hand's east on Mason is going to change.
Right, it can be built out, and that house is going to be built out.
So, Larry, do you have any thoughts on
Well, specifically Article 9 is for the Harbor District, and provides the process by which development is approved. It requires town council. The Harbor Area Review Board is strictly advisory, and then it requires town council approval. That's not the case with your board, right? The lady who's building her house doesn't need to go to the town council now to get it approved again. The Harvey building needed to get Harbor approval, and the town council needed to approve it again. That's, all that was built in as safeguards because of the preposterous Cape Harbor and Nimrod Tabby, and Nimrod Tabby's group, and Nimrod Tabby's friends. It's probably redundant now, but that requires a revision to the code and the disassembling of the Harbor Area Review Board, those powers being given and stuff. Historic District Review Board. Remember, the council previously, 2 or 3 years ago, designated the Historic District Review Board as the review board for the C3 district. Because the town ordinance talked about a review board for the C3 district, but never identified what that was. So, well, your board's already here to do precisely that. But there was and again, the Harbor Area Master Plan in 2006 is a nice design school exercise, but it's not a very good planning school exercise. Has a lot of untested assumptions, and it purposely made this break between the south side of Mason Avenue and the north side of Mason Avenue North. Well, maybe that was an intention at the time. It's probably always good to appeal the reasons why that break was made at the time. Because, arguably there isn't integration. There's this side of the street, there's one thing, that side of the street is something else.
But that's a good example.
Put it at the development level, which is, the Florida area ratio in the Harbor District is 2 to 1.
But what you just brought up is really interesting, because let's say, they build this hotel that they're talking about across from the Northampton Hotel. So you're going to have this historic district that's got this nice look to it, that sort of fits in with the area. And then you could have something that looks like a Radisson. And is there, I'm not saying I'm going to stop anything, but is there a way that you can work with, say, our board and come up with something that is architecturally pleasing, that blends, versus...
It would be a new set of harbor guidelines. It would be a new harbor design book. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not going to happen in the next 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to build a hotel in the next 6 months either.
Well, I can get approval for it in the next 6 months. Because it would need the conditional use first, and then the conditional use is good for 12 months after that. Because a hotel in the Harbor District is only by conditional use, so goes to the planning commission first. They have a public hearing, make an approval, goes to town council, make a recommendation, goes to town council for approval. And then there's 12 months after that to do something to activate that conditional use. So they can get plans reviewed, they can put a water sewer connection, and then they're on their way to their hotel. There's a public hearing that goes along with that, so if the proposed design is all steel and glass, that's not exactly what the design for the harbor area has in mind, but it would allow a more modern look than the Northampton Hotel.
Right. I'm not saying it has to look like the Northampton Hotel.
But it doesn't even have to be informed by it.
Right.
It doesn't even have to have a nice big front porch.
Right.
For example, where these people building their houses still have to be informed by every other front porch in town. Unless there's, you're surrounded by brick ranchers or something, in which case you cannot have to have the full front porch. But if you're building a vernacular Cape Charles house, it has a full front porch. Now, just the other side of the hotel with a nice big 2-story porch, they don't have to have that. They can do other things. Now, are they likely to make a design compatible, my expectation is yeah, but they don't have to.
Right.
And then, and again, if it's according to the harbor area guidelines, that's not grounds to appeal. You know, you can't fault somebody for building what the town said you could build. You know, I cannot like it, but I really can't hold and say, oh yeah, I cannot like it, I can hate it, but I can't stop it from doing it.
Right.
until the law changes.
Right.
Right?
So could we not approach the harbor board and talk to them and tell them what our thoughts are?
Yeah, I mean, the harbor board remembers me, there are 2 planning commissioners, a council member, and a historic district review board member, and 3 at-large members of the public. So,
No,
I don't
Same.
I'm
know.
not.
You don't know our board?
But it's a really good board, and I mean,
Yeah.
we don't meet that often, but I can't imagine them not, with us here, not saying to them, we're concerned.
the other thing is that board can be expanded to include more representatives either from the public at large or historic district review board. I mean, it's 7 members. If there were 9 members, that probably wouldn't be the end of the world either. You don't want to get into anything that's,
Right.
Congress, if we don't have enough people to actually make a decision. But, the safeguards on bad design were put into the ordinance, Article 9, by saying that, of the harbor area review board, there is a council member. So there's somebody there who's ideally puts a stop on bad.
Right.
Is ideally a break. Member of Historic District Review Board represents the interests of good designs and compatibility with the historic district, and the 2 planning commission members are there to, basically be law and order for the zoning ordinance. So, I mean, that's the way it should work. They haven't really gotten anything much to do outside the Harvey building, a couple other small projects that Young Center brought in, and Patrick Haynes development. So, but anything that was going on the ferry dock lot would go to Harbor. So that's the restaurant, the tiki bar, the provision building, and then ultimately the hotel conditional use first to do it, and then design approved by the harbor. And then who knows what with the railroad property. Because again, the master plan for the harbor district, which is being looked at, I know, has the expectation that the grid is just multiplied.
So that master plan, you guys are looking at like extending the streets, and what does that grid look like?
That's what that master plan calls for.
Okay.
How grounded in truth that master plan was in 2006 compared to 2018 is a fair question. The state requires that we look at the comprehensive plan every 5 years, but some of these plans that have gone in to influence, the comprehensive plan, 15 years old and never been looked at. So they may not have been a good idea at the time. They may not be a good idea now, but as long as we still got them, we still have to do something with them. And I know we've got a couple of council members who are looking at all harbor development related issues across our spectrum of documents to see what it is exactly the town is articulating and want to have in that district. But you're right. I mean, isn't anyone, and that's a 41-acre lot or something that's not subdivided, and there's all sorts of things that mitigate working against.
I don't think it would hurt for us to send a letter from you to them, just stating how we feel.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's good, thank you. Okay, announcements?
I won't be here in October.
Okay, so.
Do we have the date of the October meeting?
16th.
It is. I'm not going to be here for that one either.
Okay.
You won't either,
I'll be coming back from our,
so maybe we need a rearrange.
That's fine.
if you did it the 17th, I'd be here.
Then you go on the whole,
I'm going to be gone until the 28th.
You're going to the 28th?
when do you go?
Friday.
Oh, well.
Not this Friday, next Friday.
Where are you going?
Austria.
Austria, oh boy.
Do you like Austria?
I'm going to see you and Mike, I'm going to Budapest.
You're going to Budapest?
Yeah,
Let's
4th
go to
and 11th.
Budapest.
On the 3rd, I'm going to Italy.
Oh,
And then-
God.
And then we're doing Ireland on the way back.
Sandy, you need a vacation.
Do I need a vacation?
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
I'm good.
Well,
I'm going to
should-
Ireland this weekend.
Well, should we change the date of the meeting?
Yes, so,
Because that's not who's going to be here.
Well, John's not here, and if he came, there would be more.
if John and Sandra and I are here, we have a quorum.
Yes.
We may take
Wait a
a
minute, is Susan even on this board?
Only when
John
John
leaves.
leaves. John is
Oh, so
still
he's still
living in
here.
the town.
He's still living.
Oh, okay.
So this is partner in town.
All right.
So you'll kind of let us know what's happening.
Thank you.
Because I know there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to commit to a date, and I didn't bring my calendar.
No,
Sorry,
no,
that's
no.
my fault, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I need to make sure.
We won't fire
it's
you.
not.
That's totally,
But I'll ask John, kind
Okay,
of, around.
The 18th is a council meeting.
right,
So
so
obviously,
obviously,
17th would be a,
It's hard.
17th is hard. 17th is hard. There you go.
Okay, so
okay,
will you go let us know?
yeah, we'll let Tracy and she'll figure it out.
So
Because we
Harbor's
already
going
got
to
2
be the
applications in
17th?
for that month.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of going on.
Leon Carr brought in 2 more applications that could have been tonight.
And these are new construction?
One's new construction.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna move this along, so, Larry, do you have any announcements?
No, none.
So, are you, until such time as a planner is hired, are you gonna represent the planning side of the house?
And have been.
I know you have, but I mean, you know, at one point, Jeb represented the town for this board. But that's why I'm asking.
No,
If you would continue.
And we're scheduled interviews next week. So ideally, new planner can come on board beginning of November.
Good.
Now, they might not be up to speed to get the November packet done. So that might be a team project or
Okay.
it's still a me project because we still have to meet the deadline.
Yeah.
Pack out. And the November meeting, I think, is a little bit later, about the 19th or 20th.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to check.
6th, this is the 20th,
The 20th of November.
right? 6th, 13th, 20th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tuesday and Thanksgiving week.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. It's the day before Thanksgiving.
The Tuesday before.
The Tuesday.
Thanksgiving was Thursday.
Thursday.
Our meeting would be Tuesday.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Tracy, do you have any?
Yeah.
Ladies?
I'm good.
Nothing? I have nothing. Okay. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the September 18th meeting. Thank you all for your patience today.
Thank you.
Second motion.
All in favor? Aye.